Welcome to Creepy Conversations.
We
are your co-hosts. What? Why did I say we are your co-hosts?
I have no idea.
We are your hosts.
I love how the listeners are also hosting now. I'm Nikki.
Yeah. And I'm Kalai, if you don't know that by now. If you're new, what's up? So, I feel like this is going to be a long episode. I don't know. This might be a two-parter, but we'll see. So, I'm going to get right to it. This week, I'm going to be covering one of the biggest mysteries in aircraft history, and definitely like the biggest airline mystery in Southeast Asia, and the biggest search and recovery effort ever for an aircraft, I think. Yeah. Yes, ever. So we're going to be covering the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. I feel like everyone knows.
Or at least has an idea.
Everyone in our generation, older and a little bit younger, has an idea about this, because this was so big at that time when this happened. And yeah, before I start, my sources for this episode is ABC News, Wikipedia, and Business Insider. So Malaysian Airlines 370, or as it's more famously known as MH370, because that was the flight name, like the one that you see on your tickets.
I love how we're over-explaining this.
As usual, we over-explain. So, it was a normal day on March 7, 2014. It disappeared on March 8, but it disappeared on, in the middle of the night, midnight at 12 midnight. Again, over-explaining. But yeah, on March 7, hours before the airline disappeared, the CCTV footage in the Kuala Lumpur International Airport showed each of the passengers going about their days. The crew went through the same thing first, and all that shit, and there was nothing that stood out. I saw the CCTV footage. It was really, nothing seemed suspicious. It was just regular. Again, over explaining. By the way, it took me 2 weeks to finish the whole research for this thing, because there's so many articles about this case, and also aviation terms that I had to dumb down because they were so technical. But yeah, anyway,
not that we were saying that you guys are dumb, but it was more for ourselves.
Yes. It was more for us. But yeah, so Flight 370 was operated with a Boeing 777. I don't know if it's supposed to be pronounced as 777 or 777, but yeah, that's it. Why am I over-explaining?
This is what happens.
To stop.
If you just ate and you have all the energy to explain things.
Oh, Jesus. But yeah.
Why do I keep closing this? I can't breathe.
It was, if you're on Patreon right now, Nikki's wearing airline drip right now. But yeah, so the plane was more than 10 years old, so it's fairly new, because usually airlines are I think the normal age for an aircraft is 20 before it gets replaced.
I didn't even know that there's an age.
Or even older than that. From what... Oh, sorry, I used to work in the aviation industry before, that's why.
No, I love that.
Didn't even inform you guys why I know this shit. But yeah, because of that, I have a little background. But yeah, I was also shocked when I found out. I was oh, they have ages. But yeah, 10 years old is fairly... Not really new, but it's not also
teenage
old,
aircraft.
Yeah, they're preteen. What am I? Yeah, like that. It's not considered as old in airplane years.
I love it. It's like animals.
Yeah, it had never been in major accidents. Also, the only minor accident was accidentally hit the tip of its wing. So like a part of it was like not the whole thing, like really the tiniest tip got torn off, but it was fixed right away. So that was the only minor accident. By the way, speaking of accidents, it is normal for an aircraft to be in an accident, like the wheels not popping out or like not popping in. Those are considered as accidents.
I recall us talking about this before while you were still working in that aviation industry company thing. And it just gave me, like, I don't want to know these things because I still want to travel.
Yeah, same. When I started, because I was a content writer for that company, so I had to do a lot of research. And I had zero background on the aviation industry, so I had to do my own research. And I was like, well, wow, I do not like this information. Now I do not want to fly. But yeah, that never stopped me. But anyway, the plane was powered by two Rolls-Royce Trent 892 engines, which is like a common engine. Rolls-Royce also creates engines for airplanes, and it was configured to carry 282 passengers in total capacity. The aircraft at that time was carrying 12 Malaysian crew members and 227 passengers from 14 different countries. So it was 239 people all in all. So there was still lots of space for other passengers. So that's just the passenger capacity. That's outside of like the cargo capacity. So it still had a lot more space to carry cargo. On the day of the disappearance, Malaysian Airlines released the names of the nationalities of the passengers and crew based on the flight manifest, which is like a thing that pilots have to submit to the air traffic controller before they're allowed to fly. So yeah, the passenger list was later modified to include the two Iranian passengers traveling on stolen Austrian and Italian passports. Later, I'll explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, because I'm like, what?
Yeah. So yeah, all 12 crew members, 2 pilots, and 10 cabin staff were Malaysian citizens. The pilot in command was 53-year-old Captain Zahar. The spelling is Zahari, but the videos that I've watched all pronounced it as Zahar. But the videos that I also watched were all Western.
I knew it.
There was one documentary that I watched was Australian, and then the others were like American, European, but they all pronounced it as Zahar. So probably that's how his name is pronounced.
If for all we know, they couldn't even just pronounce his name right.
Yeah, but let's just stick with that because it's yeah. So his full name is Zahar Ahmad Shah. He's from Penang in Malaysia. He joined Malaysian Airlines as a cadet pilot in 1981, and after training and receiving his commercial pilot's license, he became a second officer with the airline in 1983. He was promoted to captain of Boeing 737-400 airliners in 1991 and captain of Airbus A330-2300 in 1996. So this part is for like those that are aviation enthusiasts. You guys know what those numbers mean.
Yeah.
He also had a type rating instructor and a type rating examiner since 2007. So to be a pilot, you have to pass exams for you to be able to like fly passenger planes, because you can't go to school and then be a passenger airline pilot right away. You have to fly smaller planes and take tests and shit, and
they also
before
have
you
like
can fly
mileages, right? Like the amount of miles that
hours
they've flown.
Yeah, for them it's like hours, how many hours you've flown, so that's it. He had a total of 18,365 hours of flying experience. Other reports that I've read was 16,000, but yeah, I'll just stick with the 18,000. That's a lot. Like imagine flying for 18,000 hours.
Yeah.
Being in the air, that's crazy. Anyway, his co-pilot was First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid. He was 27 years old. He joined Malaysian Airlines as a cadet pilot in 2007. And then in November 2013, he began training as first officer. Flight 370 was his final training flight, and he was scheduled to be examined for his next flight. Like, he was scheduled to be promoted in his next flight. He had accumulated of 2,763 hours of flying experience. So yeah, he was described as polite, kind, and helpful, and his father was also a government official. So back to the passengers, the two Iranian passengers traveling on stolen passports. Their names were Puri Nur Muhammad, who was 18, and Delavar Sayed Mohammad Reza. He was 29. They used their own passports from Doha to Kuala Lumpur before boarding Malaysian Airlines, before boarding the MH370, which was the flight towards Beijing. Media reports say, and also the authorities who looked into them, they say that they were really just asylum seekers seeking like a better life in Europe. And they were like boarding different planes to get to their destination without like getting caught by the immigration.
Like, how does that work?
I don't know, honestly. But yeah, Interpol had searched the passports that they were using. They were stolen from Thailand like 3 years ago. So they must have been using like an agency or like someone they knew who could provide them passports.
That's crazy.
So it's like a whole nother thing. So
Yeah.
remember, when you're flying, keep your passports to yourself because people might use it. But they were cleared of any suspicion. Their families were like interviewed and shit, and they were searched because you know how people are when it's like Middle Eastern. People are automatically like, oh, they're terrorists and shit, but not all of them are. But yeah, and they were literally just looking for a new life to be able to like provide for their families.
Right.
So the time of the takeoff was 12:42 midnight or morning. The first 40 minutes went normally. 40 minutes in the flight from Malaysia to Vietnamese airspace. Before it crossed to the Vietnamese airspace, the final thing heard from the airlines was the co-pilot saying, "All right, good night, Malaysia 370." And at the same time, the plane disappeared from the radar screens, like completely off.
I'm having goosebumps.
Yeah.
That's so eerie.
When I first saw the documentary about it, but when I listened to the recording, it didn't sound like it was...
A goodbye.
Yeah, it was literally how he said... He was the co-pilot, by the way. It was Farik who said this. So he was the newer one.
Yeah.
How he said it was literally like, "All right, good night, Malaysia 370." Like that. It wasn't like, "Good night, Malaysia 370." It wasn't like...
It wasn't like the deadly kind of
Yeah. It didn't sound, like
Suspicious.
he had motive. Yeah,
Yeah.
suspicious.
But still, like the line though.
The line,
so...
yeah. I've never heard a pilot say good night. Like,
Same. Or maybe I just fell asleep first.
yeah, actually, yeah. I noticed though that they would be like, "Oh, we're gonna be turning off the lights so you can sleep."
Yes.
That's
But they never
all
say
I can
good night.
remember. Yeah, probably pilots are now banned to say it after this whole thing. So yeah, we don't know. So 2:30 a.m. in Malaysian time, an hour after the plane disappeared, a call to the crisis coordinator to Malaysian Airlines was made. He made call to put it on code red right away. This isn't normal for a plane to vanish.
Just disappear, yeah.
Yeah, and the aircraft was supposed to land in Beijing at 6:30 a.m. Once 6:30 approached, the delayed sign flashed on the panel boards, and then they still were looking for this aircraft. They don't know if it crashed or... their main assumption was that it crashed. The last point of contact was over in South China Sea. According to Malaysian Airlines, they weren't able to contact families right away. Some of the families found out from reports on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had to look through the list first of like the flight list and the passenger list
Yeah.
to look for who they would contact. And because they were also busy still looking for the flight, like they were tracing shit and they were calling like ATC and shit. A total of 239 lives were lost. There were sightings of oil leaks and possible debris in South China Sea, but they were proven false. They saw oil leaks and possible debris through the satellite, which is like, that's not really clear. So, but they were eventually like proven false. 30 nations immediately offered to help because this is an aircraft thing.
Yeah, like
it's a big deal. At this point, everyone was still assuming that the plane crashed in South China Sea. Then primary radar records and Air Force data revealed that after communications were lost on MH370, it turned around, presumably back to Malaysia. So then they were like, oh, didn't crash in South China Sea.
Yeah.
Because that's where the last contact was. So they started to investigate what was going on. ATC from Malaysia and Vietnam had catalog errors. Because if you're air traffic control, you need to list everything down. The computer like has shit that they will record. So they had to look into that. They had to call Vietnam, the ATC in Vietnam, to like find out what the fuck went wrong.
Yeah.
The ATC in Malaysia and Vietnam, their catalog errors were coinciding, and it made them realize that the plane was deliberately led that way, meaning that the plane was deliberately turned off, like the transponder was turned off, all communication equipment was turned off, so that the aircraft went dark, like that's their term, dark, which means they're not visible on civilian radar. And essentially, if you're not visible on civilian radar, nobody can see who you are. And that was where they were confused and panicked among like the air traffic controllers.
Yeah.
Both in Vietnam and Malaysia, once they realized that, oh shit, like this shit has happened. Air traffic controllers in Malaysia should have made contact within 5 minutes before it crossed the border. Like the airspace to Vietnam. But there was actually an error with the ATC at that time because no one was monitoring the radar screens because they were really just, waiting for the pilots to be like, yo, what's up? We're now in your airspace and shit.
Oh my God.
And they were waiting for Malaysia to also like, we're going to turn over MH370 over to you guys and shit like that.
Wait, so who did not do their job right?
Everyone. Everyone did. But yeah, I think they were so complacent.
It's like, oh, we're used to this. Everyone's just gonna, Fuck, man.
ATC in Vietnam actually saw the aircraft in their radars going back to Malaysia. And they decided that, it's now Malaysia's responsibility. Because they were like, oh, maybe there was an issue. That's why they had to go back to Malaysia and they had to land there. The proper thing that should have happened was that Vietnam should have contacted Malaysia and was like, yo, I see that this flight is turning around.
What's up?
Yeah. But because there's so many flights that go through airspaces, ATC isn't just looking at one airplane.
Yeah.
They're looking at like multiple flights. So I guess they were like, there must have been an issue, and maybe they were also at the same time waiting for Malaysian ATC to be like, yo, MH370 has to turn around because there's an issue, and maybe they were waiting for that and then they eventually forgot.
Oh my.
According to the aviation experts, this also seemed like a deliberate tactic to confuse the two countries, the two ATCs of the countries. Because initially, Malaysian ATC thought that it was about to cross, and it can't see the flight anymore on its radar. So they probably were like, oh, it's now crossed to the other airspace. And then Vietnam was also like, a turnaround, so
it's not ours.
Maybe Malaysia has it now.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, so the military radar, because they have a different
frequency,
they have different technology, they can look at the aircraft even though it's like radar is turned off. They have their own shit, their technology, so they can protect their own country. What they saw 2 minutes after communications lost on MH370, it took a 40-degree turn to the right, and then it banks to the left. It took like a long left turn, and then it took a deliberate 180-degree turn, meaning the plane turned its tracks almost directly back to Malaysia. And these are movements of only someone flying the aircraft can do. Like, autopilot can't do this shit.
I don't know if y'all can see, but like I'm having legit goosebumps here. This is like, oh my god, wow.
Yeah. So, meaning you have to take the autopilot down to like reprogram.
Like they're really doing this.
Bullshit. Yes. Data shows once the plane flew across the Malaysian peninsula, it flies up and then straight across. The thing that the military should have done once it spotted the plane. Okay, so what they initially did when the military saw the plane, they assumed that it was a friendly aircraft because it was a passenger aircraft. And they were probably like, oh, something must be happening
wrong.
For them to go up this high. So they were like, okay, let's not check on it. But what should have happened, this is according to like aviation experts and also like the military from all over the world. What should have happened is once the military spotted this plane go on a different route, they should have called it out. Like, hey, what's up? What's going on?
Yeah.
Why aren't you on your route? Why are you higher than normal? What's up? And then if they don't get a response, the Air Force is supposed to like
check on it,
but no one did. And I think because they were really not used to this.
I love how people are so presumptuous. Like, oh, I think this is what's happening, so I'm gonna let you do your thing.
Yeah, you do you. I feel like you're gonna be okay.
This is not what you do you means, people, okay?
Yeah. So, the initial response of the Malaysian government when they realized it disappeared, terrorism was immediately suspected. As I remember when this first happened, people were immediately like, oh, it must have been hijacked and shit. But later on, we'll uncover the theories and yeah. Anyway.
Woo.
So their suspicion is either one of the pilots or one of the passengers took over the plane. The government's initial report referred to potential third party being involved. When they mean third party, it could be anyone from like the crew to the passengers or a stowaway that could have entered the cockpit and like taken the chance. They also did, like I mentioned earlier, the 2 Iranian citizens, they really did suspect at first, which is unfortunate that their thoughts went right there because of their Iranians. But yeah, they were
because of the
like fake
passport.
passports.
Yeah.
But they really didn't find anything against these people. Also, they interviewed a lot of aviation experts, even on Reddit. Like I was like reading through shit. You have to go through the cabin door, which is like an enforced door that's bulletproof and shit. Like a lot of things changed because of what happened in the 9/11 attacks in America. Most of the planes, and also like prior to that, there were already hijacks and shit. But mostly because of the 9/11, a lot of things changed. So like the door is bulletproof. Like it's hard to get through it. There's like a lock through it that only the pilot can unlock and override. Not even like the crew can override it.
Yep.
And then that would also mean like if in case whoever got through the door, they would also have to overpower the pilots, meaning they would have to have like weapons, but it showed in the CCTV that they were frisk and shit. Like there's no way that this would have been, like that, like how people were thinking of. So, and also because of the flight pattern, it went left and it went right, and it had to have been like a really experienced pilot to do this. So was it terrorism? No group has ever claimed responsibility for the tragedy, so it's unlikely to have been like a terrorist event. If it's not a group, it was like just an individual acting in behalf of a group, or like acting in behalf of like the beliefs of a certain group. Yeah, they would have left some evidence like pointing towards like this is terrorism or like rebellion. Otherwise it would have been pointless to like hijack a plane and then like
just cause.
Yeah, and then just be silent after.
He's probably trying like drift. It's like, you know what? I learned this new trick. I'm gonna take over a plane and just.
Yeah, like that doesn't happen. If it's terrorism, you'll know right away. Like the whoever will say so, or there'll be traces, because they did look at every background of like the passengers and the crew. There weren't like any terroristic shit that they found. The second theory is that an onboard fire, maybe the captain made some attempts to extinguish the fire and some controls were burnt, and that's why there was like some shit, that's why it flew up and shit like that. But it still doesn't explain the weird flight patterns. And also there would have been like contact, like, oh shit, we're burning here, we need help and shit like that. They did compare it to Swiss Air Flight 111, where the airline crashed on September 2, 1998 off the coast of Nova Scotia in Canada. It killed all 229 people on board, and the cause was faulty wirings, and they also didn't like receive any mayday calls. They were able to find like the wires, even if the plane was like completely, what's the term?
Disintegrated.
Ruined. Disintegrated. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, they found like small debris, but they were able to like trace it that it was the faulty wiring. But it still does not explain the weird flight pattern of the aircraft. So the search continues. There's this system that not even the pilots knew until MH370, that there's this satellite that collects data from engine performance, meaning it would show the engine life and also where the location of the engines were. So Rolls-Royce, the maker of the engine, so one of the reasons why Rolls-Royce, the car, is so expensive, because the company has a satellite that can track every engine it has ever made, literally like the government. So they have that shit from cars to planes or whatever. Everything that they make, they have a tracking device for it and the satellites. They do this in case you get into an accident. They can locate you and help you manually start your car and all that shit.
I should have looked more into this, because I have friends here who work for Rolls-Royce for aviation, the aviation side of things. And I don't know, if I talked to them about this, maybe I could have gotten more information to help you with it. But I'm always useless. So
this was like the first time people found out about this. And up till today, like, they know how it works, but not a lot of information.
Like, not entirely, I don't think they'd ever give that out.
Yeah. In the case for aircrafts, how the satellite thing works is that every hour the aircraft will send an automated signal to the satellites. The satellites will then transfer that data to the ground, and it will like do a back and forth thing. So it will know where the location is. For MH370, this is what the final pings were, what they call the 7th arc, which technically means the last signals that the satellite got from the engine of MH370. And it's called 7th arc because the plane kind of did like a turn before it crashed into the ocean. The last 7 things that happened, like, we'll post the picture on Instagram, because there's like literally a detail of like how the arc was formed. Like the right engine turned off, and then the left engine, the generator, like it really did like slowly turned off. And the reason why the aircraft ended its flight, why the engine stopped working, and this would only happen if they ran out of fuel. And even if like it runs out of fuel, engine will still send
Signals, yeah.
yeah. The fact that it wasn't sending signals anymore, it means that it disintegrated, it crashed. And they believe the impact happened in Indian Ocean near Australia. It's a very stormy part of the ocean. I remember when this happened, I asked my father, because my father is he's a seafarer, so he knows a lot about the ocean. And he said that area has really big waves. How much more in this case, like, it was like really in the middle of Indian Ocean. He was like, the waves are taller than buildings. Like,
oh fuck.
Yeah, it's like really big that it would disintegrate probably an airplane, because airplanes are made out of light materials compared to boats.
Yes.
So it's easier for it to like crash, and if some parts of it did survive, the waves would have turned it into sand.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that part of the Indian Ocean is 46 kilometers of depth. The ocean floor is uneven. It has hills. It has mountains. It has extinct volcanoes. It has fault lines. And this is all in the darkest part of the ocean.
Is this hell?
Nope, this is the ocean.
It sounds like somewhat like a place where Hades lives.
Yeah. But yeah, the search team were made out of 21 aircrafts, and 19 ships with advanced sonar radar were deployed. But 3 weeks have been passed. What? 3 weeks have passed since the crash, meaning probably any remnants of the flight, like I said earlier, were probably have been turned into sand, or like is now like buried somewhere deep
It's
in
the
the
new
ocean.
Atlantis.
In like one of those mountains and extinct volcanoes. Debris was spotted, but it wasn't from MH370. Eventually they will, throughout the years, there were different debris all over the world that they found from MH370. Also, check it out on our Instagram. There's going to be a map of like the places where the different debris.
You're Scottish now.
Yeah, the different debris. I think they found one in Scotland. I'm not sure, but yeah.
That's intense.
They found one in like South Africa, like all over the place. They found.
Oh, but then it makes sense because this is water. It could just like flow everywhere.
Yeah. While they were doing the search, they found 2 distinct pings that seemed audible, that they thought were from the What is happening?
What is going on? It's like, why can't you pronounce this?
From the transistors of the flight data recorder and cockpit recorder. But eventually they found out that the pings were false alarms and nothing was found. I still remember when this happened in the news, like they were like, oh shit, like we found pings, and they like tried to look for it, but it was really like false alarm. So now they're facing a wall. So the authorities all over the world, and when I say authorities, literally FBI, M16, Chinese intelligence, like other big legal entities, their attention now shifts because everyone wants to know what the fuck happened in the first place. I'm pretty sure you remember how crazy it was.
Yes.
Like people had theories like, oh, what if it like lands all of a sudden a week later, and like no one, the passengers had no idea what happened.
Yeah, like
you remember
people
there were like shit
still
like that.
thought that this plane
There was a
could
chance
have
that they would find.
exactly, and then they thought like people would still survive this, or like, you know, it's just hidden with some crazy spy agent shit.
Yeah, and I remember like there was like screenshots of like satellite pictures. Like there was like an airplane that was found in Cambodia, and when they went, there was nothing really. There were people who were like, because the screenshot was shared, and when they went there, it was false alarm. It wasn't the
It wasn't the
aircraft.
plane.
It was an MH370. Yeah, so because they don't know what to do anymore, they can't find the plane, they take a look at the people on board. Like I said earlier, the two passengers were cleared. Yeah, the two Iranians were like cleared. US and Malaysian officials reviewed the background of every passenger named on the manifest. On March 18, the Chinese government announced that they had checked all of the Chinese citizens on the aircraft and had ruled out the possibility that they were involved in destruction of or terror attacks, because most of the passengers, their nationalities were Chinese. Not all, but most of them, like majority were Chinese, because this was a flight to Beijing.
Mm-hmm.
One passenger who worked as a flight engineer for SwissJet charter company was briefly under suspicion as a potential hijacker, because people thought that he had relevant aviation skills, but nothing really came out of it. And even like the authorities refused to like name their families because they didn't want to. They named him, his name was out there, but they didn't name their families because they didn't want like the media to go interview the families. But basically he was cleared. So they take a look at the cargo. Maybe this caused the fire. So Flight 370 was carrying 10,806 kilograms of cargo, and 221 kilograms of that were lithium-ion batteries, which they had interest in. The consignment was from Penang Cargo Complex, was inspected by mass cargo employees and the Malaysian custom officials, but it did not go through a security screening before the truck was sealed for transfer to the airport. The consignment also did not go through any additional inspections at Kuala Lumpur International Airport before it was loaded into MH370, because the batteries were packaged in accordance with IATA guidelines and they were not regulated as dangerous goods, quote unquote. Lithium-ion batteries can cause intense fires if they overheat and ignite, which has led to strict regulations in their transport and aboard aircraft. That's why they were checked prior, but not checked during the transport. They were like, oh, these are all good. There was a crash before of the UPS Airlines Flight 6 where they suspect that it caused fire, and then the crash of Asiana Airlines Flight. Sorry. I'm so sorry what is happening to me. But yeah, Asiana Airlines Flight 991, they suspected that lithium-ion batteries were also like the result of the crash. But they still ruled that out because it doesn't explain the weird flight patterns and the act of turning off the communications and turning around manually and doing a series of turns. And these were like acts made by a seasoned pilot. A thing that also happened to the plane was cabin depressurization, which is the compression that comes from the power from the engines if it's switched off so that the plane will decompress. If you're a passenger, that's when those masks from like the plane ceiling, do you call them ceiling? The plane,
I don't know, it's like the
roof ceiling
thing.
Yeah, the masks will like come down. This button to like decompress the plane is like right above the pilot. Easy to reach because if there's a fire anywhere in the plane, this is a tactic that pilots are meant to do to extinguish the fire. Another thing that decompression can do is it could also neutralize everyone outside of the cockpit if there's no emergency. Once the cabin is decompressed, the passengers and everyone outside of the cockpit have about 12 minutes of oxygen in those masks before the airplane could go into an altitude that the passengers could breathe normally again. So in the event that there isn't a fire or whatever, an emergency would happen, the pilots would need to contact ATC that, oh, we're going to be changing our altitude because shit is happening.
Yeah.
We need to go up and then go down so that the passengers can breathe, and they need to communicate everything that happened. Like, for example, like, oh, it took more than 12 minutes for this to for the fire to extinguish, which is impossible, by the way. But if ever that's the case, like, oh, we're going to take quite some time to be up here, and then we're going to go down so that the passengers can breathe again. But what they believe happened was that the plane quickly went high up to a higher altitude out of mobile range, long enough for the passengers and crew to pass out, and enough for them to be out of mobile signal range before the plane was brought back down. On the MH370 final report, a significant height variation was recorded from over 31,000 feet to 39,000 feet in a space of 15 seconds. But other countries and aviation experts doubt the specifics of like the time, like the 15 seconds, and also the height, because there's like really no way of like pinpointing the actual like the specifics that were,
because it's like, where is this information coming from?
Yeah, I mean, they can tell through radar, but they can't really like, oh, for 15 seconds this was what happened, and just like a general thing. They can see the general information, but not like the exact seconds. But if this was to happen, the passengers and the crew would get hypoxia, which is, for those that don't know, is when a sudden lack of oxygen in your blood happens. So if you don't put on the mask for about 30 seconds, you'll lose your useful conscience, quote unquote, meaning you start to get confused, you start to get restless, shortness of breath happens. But if you're in a higher altitude, it's less than 30 seconds before you go unconscious. So the higher it is, the quicker it is for you, for hypoxia to happen. Now, hypoxia happens in the air. It happens so suddenly that you don't even know what it's going on. And I think that's like the only positive thing to have happened in this whole incident, was at least whatever happened to them, they were unconscious.
Yeah, they wouldn't remember anything anymore, or probably not feel it.
Yeah, if in case they did crash, like they
were already unconscious.
Panicked, they were already unconscious. They really believed that this was deliberate because there weren't emergency calls made, or like from the passengers. It sounds like it too. Yeah, from the passengers, they weren't able to like call anyone if ever there was an emergency. So if you're wondering, what about the pilots? Are they going to pass out too? Because this also happened in a flight. I forgot the name of the flight, but yeah, they didn't know that the engine was decompressing. It wasn't done on purpose. Like, there wasn't any emergency or shit like that. Like, it was an accident, and everyone passed out, even the pilots, because it was so slow. The decompression was so slow that they didn't realize that it was happening, and then like the pilots eventually passed out too, and then the plane crashed. Yeah, so if you're still afraid, you still love flying, I don't know. But yeah, this isn't too scary, you guys. This is thank God we're covering this in the middle of a pandemic.
Because by the time we get over this, we can probably fly again.
True. If you're wondering if the pilots survived, airplanes are designed to have extra oxygen support for the pilots in case sudden altitude or decompression happens. So this is where the theory about this being a murder-suicide committed by a pilot comes in. U.S. officials believe the most likely explanation to be that someone in that cockpit of flight MH370 reprogrammed the aircraft's autopilot to travel south across the Indian Ocean. Police searched the homes of the pilot and seized financial records. All 12 crew members, including bank statements, credit cards, and mortgage documents, were seized. On 2nd of April 2014, Malaysian Police Inspector General said that more than 170 interviews have been conducted as part of the criminal investigation, including interviews with the family members of the pilots and crew. So the authorities started looking closer look at the pilots because, as I mentioned earlier, the pattern of the plan turning left and then right and then around were done manually.
They were probably calling for aliens You know how those like
We
cornfield
don't know.
patterns?
Yeah. We don't know. So when I worked in the aviation industry, one thing I found out that this made me like, oh fuck. Because pilot fatigue is very common. That's why before, like back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, there were plenty of like pilot suicides. Like they would
Right.
hijack the plane and then commit suicide. The pilot fatigue thing is very common because of their schedules and shit. Like they barely sleep. They don't have like, you know,
They don't have normal lives.
yeah, they don't have normal lives. And a lot of them really do suffer from depression.
Yeah.
But nowadays, airlines require their pilots to see psychiatrists. So yeah. Now back to the pilots. Nothing particular stood out from the first officer, Farik Abdul Hamid. He was the one who said, "Good night, Malaysia 370," right before everything was shut off. He was engaged to be married to another pilot. The pilot was from Air Asia, not in Malaysian Airlines. And his father was a government worker. The only thing that came out of this whole thing from him was that months prior to the incident, a woman came forward to the media and said that they were picked out by Farik to join the pilots in the cockpit, and at the same time, they were still teenagers at the time. I don't know if they were legal or not, but they probably were because they were able to fly alone. But they were still teenagers at that time. And according to them, the entire like flight, I think it was 3 hours, the pilots were smoking and barely facing the machines because they were busy entertaining the girls. And like they told them it's okay because it's on autopilot. And actually, that's very common. Pilots will sleep during the flight,
Yeah.
will eat during the flight and shit. Like, but that's nothing to be afraid of because
It's normal.
autopilot, yeah,
That's what it's
autopilot's
supposed to be.
very smart. They can even land the planes, you know, if everything is like in good condition. But if you're a good pilot, you don't want to autopilot land the plane, you know. You don't want to land the plane on autopilot.
Yeah. No, but like, what? This sounds like a Soul Plane scene to me.
Yeah. But it is very common, just so you know. Especially if it's like
Oh my
12-hour
God.
flights and shit. Like that's very
Pimp it
common.
up. Oh my god. Do it for the
Yeah,
pussy.
this isn't to like ruin the reputation of pilots,
No,
but
of course
they
not.
do
It's
get
just-
to enjoy.
It's just the reality of things. They're like admin or something.
Yeah, Malaysian Airlines condemned the whole thing and said that they were saddened to hear about the incident with Farik. And they said that it was not guidelines of the company to do those things. Obviously, duh. And they plan to do more.
I love how they had to clear that out. Like, this is not part of the guidelines, just so you know.
Yeah. And they plan to do more stuff to make sure that this won't happen to other pilots in the future. Like, there's also a rumor that came out that a call was made from Farik's mobile phone. There were also other rumors that there were passengers that were able to call, but no one has really like come forward and said like, "Oh, I was the one who they called." No one. No one. Brother of Farik was also interviewed, and he said he could not think of anyone Farik would be calling in case there was an emergency or like if ever he was like committing suicide. He couldn't think of anyone the Farik would be calling because he knew at that time that his wife, fiance was also working, and yeah, his brother was also busy, and it was like 1 a.m. His family members were probably asleep.
Yeah.
So they take a look at 53-year-old Captain Zahir Ahmad Shah, because he is the captain after all. Media reports claimed that the Malaysian police had identified Zahir as a prime suspect. If human intervention were like eventually proven to be the cause of MH370's disappearance, like they didn't really say that he was the person who did it, but he would be the prime suspect if in case it was proven that this was like a person who did this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he is the more seasoned one. The United States FBI reconstructed the deleted data from Captain Zahir's home flight simulator. A lot of pilots have their own flight simulator so they can practice.
Yep.
So yeah, they did that shit. The Malaysian government spokesman indicated that nothing sinister had been found on it. The preliminary report issued by Malaysia in March 2015 stated that there was no evidence of recent or imminent significant financial transactions carried out by any of the pilots or the crew, and the analysis of the behavior of the pilots on the CCTV showed no significant behavior changes. In 2016, a leaked American document stated that a route from the pilot's home, from Captain Zahir's home, flight simulator, which closely matched the projected flight over the Indian Ocean, was found on his flight simulator on his computer hard drive. This was later confirmed by the ATSB although the agency stressed that this did not prove the pilot's involvement. The Malaysian government also said that they can't say that this is something sinister because it was old data, really, really old data, and it could have been originated from different files. It doesn't mean that
it's not foolproof, basically.
Yeah. Also, it's really old, so it can't be if you're planning to crash the plane in the Indian Ocean. It would have been recent. It would have been recent. He would have memorized the flight, whatever the flight path. But it wasn't recent. Yeah. Sister of Captain Zahir said that the safety investigation report of MH370 showed nothing negative about the pilot flying the plane. Although there were 7 manually programmed waypoint coordinates that, when connected together, will create a flight path from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to the Indian Ocean, there isn't unusual activity to it. So they really said that no, this isn't something sinister. They looked further into the behavior of Captain Zahir, and they found Facebook posts of him being against the government. He was very vocal about being against the government, and he was also creepy because he was obsessed with these twins, Chinese twins, and he would constantly comment on their posts you're so tasty, you're so delicious, and shit.
Oh my god,
really fucking creepy. Yeah, psychologists look into his posts, and they were he was obsessive, he wasn't stable, because he had really angry posts against the government. And they were if this was a captain from other airlines, because Malaysian Airlines is owned by the government, if this was a captain from another airline, let's say Singapore Airlines, that pilot would be taken off duty right away because it could cause shit. But it's not, what do you call this? It's, what's the term for not official, circumstantial. It's circumstantial evidence. They can't really say that, oh, he's 100% unstable, he committed suicide by doing this, because there aren't suicide notes or anything direct, that. And and if it was against the government, it was a fuck you government type of thing, he would have left messages. It would be in his searches on how to fuck the government, you know what I mean? There would have been shit on it, but there's nothing,
especially if it was premeditated.
Yeah, but there's completely nothing, so they can't say that he did it. But most of the countries all over the world suspect that it was murder-suicide because of what happened, the weird flight patterns of the shit being manually changed, but they really can't say 100% that, oh, it's murder-suicide. Yeah. To play as devil advocate, because they keep on blaming Captain Zahir, what about the co-pilot? I'm not saying that it's him, but he was the one who said goodnight, Malaysia 370, and then all communications were lost after that. Maybe, what if Captain Zahir was, let's say, peeing at that time when that happened? And he turned off the signal, and the Captain Zahir was whoa, shit, what's happening?
What the fuck? Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that Farik did it, but I agree with like the statement of like FBI and the Malaysian government. Like, you can't really say who did it because there was nothing left of it. Like,
Yeah.
no suicide notes and shit like that. Like, sure, Captain Zahar was creepy and his behavior was not right. Like, you know, he was obsessive and shit.
Wait, but whose simulation was it again?
Captain Zahar.
With the whole how the flight was flown, yeah?
Yeah, it was the captain. It was his. But I was on Reddit because I read like the theories of the people. Aviation experts also were like, well, if it was like in 2014, it was deleted. There's no way for us to like memorize this shit unless, you know, it was like at the back of his head. Also, what if, another theory that I would like to throw out there, what if, let's say, they were hijacked and shit happened, like the pilot really, there was a gun to their head and they were like, you need to like crash this in this area or whatever. And what they did, the weird patterns was because they were trying to like, oh, we're doing this right now, like to
just alert whoever.
Oh
could
yeah,
see that.
to alert, like hoping the Air Force will notice the weird pattern or ATC will notice the weird pattern.
But people know
No
how to
one
do
helped
their
them.
jobs.
Yeah, and maybe they went up in the air to like decompress, to like
Try and save themselves.
try and save wherever they were supposed to land, like, you know. And like the last thing that the captain has memorized was like a flight pattern towards Indian Ocean because he's sure that no one's gonna die there, like except for the plane. Like, you know, what if this whole thing's an act of
self-defense?
terrorism? Yeah, you know, we don't know.
Oh my God.
I feel like it will remain to be the biggest mystery ever. I don't think this is going to be solved unless the government's hiding something.
Well,
but yeah. France did, back in 2018, they reopened the case because they believed that the Malaysian government were covering some things. Because, you know, his dad was working for the Malaysian government.
Yeah.
And Zahar was most likely unstable. Captain Zahar was most likely unstable, and maybe they didn't want to be like, oh, they didn't want to be blamed for not checking their pilots. Maybe they covered some stuff, but eventually France closed the case because they couldn't find anything on it. So if this was there were cover-ups, Malaysian government's doing a great job, but I doubt, because FBI is involved in this, M16 is involved in this, Chinese intelligence, and like they're involved in it.
Yeah.
I feel like Chinese intelligence,
they could have solved that. Yeah.
Right? They would do immoral shit to solve this. You know what
They're pretty smart, and I mean, like, the technology in China is insanely good.
Yeah.
So
they could solve this, but they found nothing. So I feel like this is gonna be the biggest mystery ever. I hope, though, that it's going to be solved within our lifetime. Like, something will come up. Like, they will find the black box. They're gonna find... It would be crazy if they find, like, the whole ass plane still intact.
Oh my God.
That would be insane.
Oh my God. That would be crazy. I wonder if they tried looking into what the military radar has found and shit, because maybe they might find something there again. Because you know how, like, everything else is turned off, and that's the only thing that could, like, I don't know, has something in there.
Or the Rolls-Royce satellite. Maybe they have other shit that, you know... I doubt, though, you know? I doubt that they're hiding shit. Because I feel like...
it's like, what's in it for them?
Yeah, I feel like this mystery is so big that anyone who could solve it would, like, fucking put their flags on top of, like, the resolution mountain of this, because it's so big. any country would want to be like, I fucking solved this shit.
Yeah.
Like, even Malaysian government, I feel like even if they're hiding shit, quote unquote hiding, I feel like they would still inform everyone, like, you know what, we've actually solved this.
Yeah.
Because it's so big. Like, I feel like you'd end up becoming a hero if you eventually
It adds a
tell the
badge
truth.
to yourself. It's like,
Yeah.
damn it, I figured this out. This is by far my favorite episode of ours.
Really?
Like it's like murder mystery kind of thing. My detective hat's on, and I just love how much information we kind of have to try and help solve this, but at the same time it's also creepy as fuck. I have never had my hair stand on end. Like, my goosebumps throughout was insane, and it's not because I was scared. It was more because fuck, this is like, trippy ass shit.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it'll be solved, but I doubt that it'll be solved. At the same time, you know, there's hope, but also, I don't think it's ever going to be solved. Yeah. I also want to, like, I want them to reinvestigate. Yeah. Now that we have, like, technology is, like, way better in 2021. Yeah. I want them to take a look at not just, you know, not just the pilots or the crew or, you know, even the passengers. I can't find any information on, like, the flight attendants.
The crew. At
all. Like, they were like, oh, they're cleared. So I trust that they are really, like, nothing suspicious.
No, but it would be nice if they want to, like, revisit this case and view every single evidence in a different perspective, because maybe that would just take us somewhere else, you know, and not be like, oh, we already know this information, so we're not going to look at that and we're going to focus on something else. Because that just wouldn't work.
Because, you know, what if, let's just say, prior to that, it wasn't, like, let's say it wasn't the pilots. Let's say someone was able to get in the
cockpit,
the machines of the cockpit, while there was no one in the airplane, and, like a virus and shit. Like, put virus on it. Like, you know, anything is possible.
Yeah, for sure. We don't know what went up there. I'm keen to know what the creepers think.
Yes.
Like, what are your theories?
Is it aliens?
Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Let us know. Hit us up on our DMs at Creepy Convos for Facebook and Twitter, and Creepy Conversations on Instagram. Or you can submit it to us on our website, creepyconversations.com, or email us at creepyconvos@gmail. I swear to God, this is a lot of information. Just go to our website.
Yes. Also, please leave us a review. It will help us.
Don't
it
forget
would really help us.
Subscribe to us on patreon.com/creepyconvos, and also on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to your podcasts too.
Yes.
And if you don't have anything else to add, I would just like to say thanks for creeping, you fucking creeper.
And remember, there are satellites always watching you.
Oh my god.
Bye.